Welcome to my show. It's me, Dhritiyatri, on TimesXP, bringing you the top 30 news from all around the globe. So let's start with it. Well, the US Iran tensions reached boiling point. The Middle East, that place witnessed rising military tensions as warships, drones, and missile systems were activated across the Gulf. Both Tehran and Washington appeared dangerously close to confrontation. The entire region stood on the edge of a potential new conflict. Washington presses pause on military escalation. Despite heightened military readiness, the US chose diplomacy over immediate conflict. Washington reportedly accepted a key Iranian demand to continue the nuclear negotiations. This particular move temporarily reduced fear of an armed showdown. Nuclear talks shifted from Turkey to Oman. Iran insisted that negotiations be moved to Oman, known for its very neutral diplomatic reputation. The US reportedly agreed, signaling readiness to keep the dialogue alive. The venue changes reflect strategic trust building efforts. Oman emerges as key diplomatic bridge. Oman has historically served as a silent mediator between Iran and the Western nations. It played a major role in facilitating the 2015 nuclear agreement. Its involvement now suggests renewed hope for peaceful negotiations. High-level US-Iran diplomatic engagement expected. US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, they are expected to lead crucial talks. This could mark the first direct engagement since previous negotiation collapse. The meeting carries major global implications. Military buildup continues despite the diplomacy. Even as talks progress, the US is strengthening its Gulf military presence. Warships have been repositioned and air defense systems were upgraded. Washington is preparing for both negotiation success and possible conflict. Donald Trump issues strong warning. That's right, US President Donald Trump warned that bad things could happen if negotiations fail. This particular statement has intensified diplomatic tension. It signals that military options remain under concentration. Iran's nuclear program sparks global concern. Iran maintains that its nuclear activities are meant for peaceful energy production. Western nations and Israel fear potential weapon development here. Now, this disagreement remains the core driver of regional instability. Economic sanctions continue to pressure Iran. Heavy sanctions have weakened Iran's economy and currency stability. Tehran is seeking relief through negotiation. Domestic pressure is also pushing Iranian leaders towards diplomatic solution. US faces global strategic burden. Washington is dealing with multiple international conflict zones simultaneously. Opening another war in the Middle East could really create severe economic and political consequences. Diplomacy is being treated as strategic necessity. IRGC claims drone operation against the US carrier. Iran's Revolutionary Guards, they claim that it successfully targeted the USS Abraham Lincoln through drone operation. The announcement aimed to showcase Iran's growing drone warfare capability. However, no independent confirmation is there. USS Abraham Lincoln symbolizes US naval power. The aircraft carrier represents America's global military dominance. It carries fighter jets, missile defense system, and command infrastructure here. Any claim of targeting such a vessel holds major strategic significance. Iran expands drone warfare strategy. Tehran has heavily invested in unmanned aerial systems in recent years. Drones offer cost-effective and hard-to-detect military capabilities here. They have become central to Iran's asymmetric warfare strategy. Aircraft carriers remain the US strategic red line. Now, for Washington, carriers project military strength across global waters. Any threat to these assets is treated as a serious security risk. Now, this increases chances of a rapid military response. Russia-Ukraine war expands into global energy battle. Russia's aerial attack on Ukrainian energy infrastructure has triggered global political tension. While the war is now affecting the oil supply chain and international economic stability, energy has now become a geopolitical weapon. Ukrainian energy attacks intensifies humanitarian crisis. Russian strikes targeting power grids worsen the winter survival condition in Ukraine. Millions face electricity shortage during freezing temperature, while the attacks aim to weaken both morale and infrastructure. US Senate Lindsey Graham targets Russian oil buyers. Graham criticizes countries purchasing Russian oil, claiming that it supports Moscow's war efforts. While he openly named India during his remark, his comments sparked international debate over the energy diplomacy. India defends its energy security strategy while India maintains that its oil purchases are based on national economic interest. Discounted Russian oil helps control domestic fuel prices and inflation, while New Delhi continues balancing geopolitical partnership. Western sanctions aim to reduce Russia's war funding. Well, the US and European nations are targeting Russia's oil export revenue. Oil remain Moscow's primary economic lifeline. Reducing energy income is seen as a way to pressurize Russia militarily. Call for Tomahawk missile raise escalation risk. Graham urged Washington to provide Ukraine with long range Tomahawk missiles. Such weapons could extend Ukraine's strike capability deep into enemy territory. Well, experts warn that this could really intensify the conflict dramatically. India faces diplomatic balancing challenge. India maintains defense ties with Russia while strengthening Western partnership. Managing these parallel relationships, it requires complex diplomatic maneuvering here. Energy security remains India's top priority. Iran refuses to transfer enriched uranium abroad. That's right, Tehran declared that it will retain full control over its enriched uranium stockpile. Now, this reverses the commitment made under previous nuclear agreement. Well, the decision is now raising the global non-proliferation concern. Iran demands price for continued nuclear restraint. Iranian leadership warned that Washington must offer concession to maintain diplomatic progress, while the demand could include sanction relief or political guarantees. The vague demand has created negotiation uncertainty here. Iran warns of retaliation against the US and Israel. Tehran linked potential American military strikes to Israeli target. The warning increases regional conflict risk. In the meantime, Israel already considers Iran's nuclear capability as existential threat. Strait of Hormuz naval standoff raises global alarm. Iranian gunboats reportedly attempted to intercept a US flagged oil tanker. While the US Navy deployed a destroyer to escort the vessel, this whole incident highlighted risks to global oil transportation. Conflicting narratives emerges over Hormuz incidents. Well, Washington described the event as aggressive Iranian interference. Tehran claimed that the tanker briefly entered its territorial water. Such conflicting versions often fuel the geopolitical tension. Hormuz remains world's most critical oil route. Nearly 20% of global oil shipments passes through the Strait of Hormuz. While any disruption could trigger worldwide fuel price spike, while the route remains a strategic leverage point for Iran. US F-35 shoots down Iranian drones near carriers, while an American stealth fighter jet intercepted and destroyed a drone approaching the USS Abraham Lincoln. The US described the move as defensive, while the incident increased military mistrust between both the nations. Iran reveals Abu Mahdi submarine launch missile. Well, Iran announced testing of a new missile with 2,600 kilometers range. Well, the weapon is designed to evade radar and target naval assets. Experts view it as a potential carrier threat. Saudi Arabia slows Israel's normalization talks. Saudi leadership pauses diplomatic progress with Israel amid the regional tension and domestic consideration. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is balancing modernization goal with religious and political legitimacy here. Stability and security concerns are influencing the Saudi foreign policy. And with that, that's a wrap up of our 30 news bulletins from around the globe. From Iran to the United States, from Saudi Arabia to Israel, the world is changing, and so is geopolitics. Me, Dhriti Atri on Times XP is here to keep you posted. See you next time.